going to be September. So it'll be here before you know it. And in the next couple days, we should be promoting it with some new marketing on social medias and on here. And again, once I have the info and permission, I'll drop the links of exactly where you can purchase the book. And also, if once I get my copies, you know, we can go ahead and auction some, sell them, whatever you guys want to do. We'll figure it out. But yeah, here we go. So that's that. Okay, guys. Well, let's get into our story. We had left off that Ryan just had gotten released from Sentinella. He had finished his prison term. And I was supposed to meet him in Sherman Oaks at the Cheesecake Factory. Kenny, you know, picked Nico and I up from my parents' house, and I had my suitcase packed and a bunch of my stuff, and, you know, was ready to move right into Frank and Diane's house. So, you know, we on our way to LA, and I did not hear from Nick. I mean, he was MIA for hours. And Ryan, I didn't hear from either, and I, you know, expected that. But then, you know, the day before, he assured me and guaranteed he would be able to convince someone to let him borrow a phone so he could just let me know he's on the bus, he's on his way, etc., etc. But I never heard from him. So I started getting worried, and I started to think the worst, that he literally probably like went to Mexico or something, and he was just over it. I don't know. He freaked out about being a dad. I don't know. I was just thinking the worst possibilities. And then to add on it, I didn't hear from Nick. You know, we were talking first thing in the morning, and then seriously hours went by and hours, and I was calling him and messaging him and calling him, nothing. And the messages weren't even getting delivered. So I'm like, his phone's not even on. Like, what the fuck is going on, you know? And then finally, we're probably like 15 minutes away from Sherman Oaks, and you know, I got the phone call. This is kind of a recap, sorry guys, I know we talked about it the last story. Finally got a phone call from Nick, and you know, it was Ryan on the line, and you know, pretty much told me that he's so sorry, no one would let him borrow a phone, you know, like everyone was just like, get away from me, you dirty convict. And you know, on the bus ride up, he befriended two guys, or I don't know if they knew each other from Sentinella, but anyway, he was with these two dudes. And he told me that they were just crazy. You know, they were doing drugs on the bus. They were like, you know, doing meth. And eventually, once they got to the LA station, they like convinced Ryan to go in the bathroom with them, to smoke or to do more drugs, and they were going to rob someone. They were planning to rob people at the bus station. And you know, Ryan pretended to go along with it because he didn't want to get jumped by them. So he like went along with it. He said, he was like, okay. But once they went in the bathroom, he fucking ran and got out of there. And eventually, I guess Nick was already at the bus station, so Nick swooped him up, and it all just ended up working out. So, you know, we eventually met at the Cheesecake Factory, and this was the first time I was meeting, you know, Nick. And I've talked to him on the phone numerous times while Ryan was incarcerated. And Nick always seemed like a super cool guy, and he just, you know, him and Ryan became really close, and they became close friends. And he was always very supportive of Ryan and caring and wanting to know how he was doing, you know. And they talked a couple times also while Ryan was incarcerated. So, you know, I didn't know what to think, but Nick seemed, I guess, fine to me when I met him. But, you know, we had our happy little reunion, and then it's like, okay, well, let's go eat. You haven't had a nice meal in fucking, like, what, 16 months? Let's go fucking eat. Get whatever the fuck you want. So, of course, he ordered a big steak dinner, some cheesecake, and just whatever the fuck he wanted. And we all, you know, sorry, this is Yellow Jacket that won't leave me alone. I got attacked by a Yellow Jacket once, so I'm like traumatized. Anyway, so, you know, we're all seated, me, Kenny, Nico, Ryan, and Nick. And then, you know, Nick pretty much excuses himself right away. He's like, I need to go to the bathroom. And it's like, yeah, go do your thing. And, you know, we're all just catching up, and, you know, then it's been a while, and we're like ready to order, but we're waiting for Nick to come back. I'm like, where the fuck is he? You know, hungry, like, let's eat, you know? And, honestly, it was probably like 15-20 minutes. I think Ryan had to go look for him, actually. And then they come back, and, you know, the waitress is there waiting to take our order. And as Nick is sitting down, he, like, couldn't control his limbs. He just starts, like, flailing his body and knocks over, like, all the cups of water on the table, and they go, like, flying everywhere. And it's like, okay, whatever happens. You know, I didn't think it was such a big deal. And I just remember Nick, like, sitting down and, like, you know, gripping the chair and going, whoa, that was intense. Sorry, that came from, like, my belly. That was intense. And, like, was just like, and I was like, whoa, like, okay, what the fuck was that about? Excuse me. That was a little weird, you know, but I brushed it off, and I was like, okay, whatever. And the waitress was right there, and they cleaned it up. It wasn't, you know, a big deal. But this whole time, like, we're all just engaging in conversation, and I just, you know, I see Ryan giving him, like, the side eye, like, looking at him, just really, you know, that's how Ryan is, like, analyzing him and observing him and noticing things and picking up on things. And then, you know, we put our order in, and Nick, you know, excuses himself again, and it's like, okay, whatever. And then that's when, you know, Ryan brings it up, and he's like, can't you tell he's high? I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? And Kenny, even Kenny was like, yeah, in her sweet little voice, yeah. I'm like, wait, what? Like, Ryan's like, yeah, you can't tell he's high. And I'm like, no. Sorry, I mean, I guess not. I mean, I was like, I don't know him. I mean, maybe he's an actor. Maybe he's just really eccentric. You know, these Hollywood people can be weird like that. So I didn't think anything of it. Ryan's like, yeah, he's totally fucking high. And I was like, oh my God, well, is he okay? Like, what do I do? Like, what do we do? You know? And it's like pretty much nothing. Well, I mean, what can we do? So I guess, you know, he was pretty high at our dinner. And I'd like to say now, I'm not talking shit on Nick, because I love Nick, because he's, you know, doing great now. He's cleaned up his life. He's sober. And, you know, as we continue the story, you're going to hear a couple of times that he actually helped get Ryan sober, you know. They got Airbnbs together. He came back to Nick's apartment, and he basically forced Ryan to kick, you know, and we'll get into all that. So he's doing really good now. So no disrespect to Nick. I'm just, you know, this is the first time I met him. And, but I wasn't even judging. Like, I didn't care. It didn't bother me. It was like, whatever, you know, as long as he doesn't do anything too crazy. And we just carried on our dinner, you know, we all ate our dinner and, had conversations, and it was, you know, a pretty normal dinner for him being high as fuck. I mean, it didn't seem like anything too crazy. Just remember, you know, showing, you know, pictures of Nico on my phone to Ryan. It was just, you know, very happy, beautiful, reunion. And that was pretty much it. So we were there for a couple of hours, and then it was time to finally go home. And, you know, they came in Nick's car, and I came in Kenny's car. So, you know, Nick lived in LA, so he was just going to go back home. And Ryan was going to jump in Kenny's car with us and go back to Santa Barbara and take us to Frank and Diane's house. And, you know, we start walking back to the parking garage, and, you know, it's an LA mall, and it's a huge parking garage, but you should be able to find your fucking car, right? Well, Kenny and I knew exactly where we fucking parked. Like, we found our car right away. But Nick And I guess Ryan's terrible with these kind of things too. And you know what? Maybe Ryan was high too, and I don't even know it. It's possible, to be honest. It's possible. Now, all the things I know now, very possible he was too. But they didn't remember where they parked. They had no clue, you know? And I remember Nick going, "You didn't look where we parked?" And Ryan's like, "You didn't look where we parked?" They're both just kind of putting the blame on the other, like on each other. Like, it was you. Why didn't you look? No, it was you. I was like, all right, guys, this is going to get nowhere. Let's all walk around together. It's here somewhere, right? So we will find your car. Well, you know, we all start walking and, you know, we're all still, you know, shooting the shit and having, you know, laughs and cracking jokes. And we're all like getting along and having a good time still, you know, and we're walking around the parking lot and, you know, we're going level G. We don't see anything. Okay, let's go to the next level, H. Oh, no. And we're like, well, do you have like the car alarm where you could set it off? And he's like, no, it's like an old car. It doesn't have an alarm or a keypad. I'm like, okay. What else? You know, what else could we do to find your car? And we're like, well, I guess that's really it. So let's just keep walking and looking. And we're like, you know, what color is the car? We got a description and we just weren't seeing this car anywhere. Like, oh, is it that car? No. We just kept walking to the next level. Before you knew it, we walked every fucking level. Every level. And I'm not even kidding you. There was like 10 different levels and like big levels. And we were looking. There was like 4 grown-ups. We were all looking and we're like, is that your car? Is that your car? No, none of them were his car, and he wasn't seeing it. So we're like, what the fuck? Did your car get towed? Like, what's going on? And, you know, he's getting like uneasy and upset and sweating profusely. And, you know, Ryan's starting to get pissed off too because he just wants to go back to his parents' house. And I'll be honest with you, to fuck. I mean, we haven't had sex in, I don't know, forever. Almost like 2 years. So he was just like, I just want to go back to my parents' house. I want to get the hell out of here. So we're looking. We're like, this is going nowhere. So we decide, let's get in Kenny's car and we'll drive around again, all the levels, and look for your car. So we all pile into Kenny's car, and I think Nick's kind of embarrassed. You know, I don't know what was going through his mind. Maybe he was just embarrassed because he kind of had like a hoopty back then. I don't know. But like, we didn't give a fuck. And, you know, we're driving around still. We can't find his fucking car. Eventually, he finds it. He's like, there it is. And we're like, oh my God. We probably passed by the car like 20 times. I don't even know. But I kid you not, we spent about 2 hours looking for his fucking car. And we were all just so over it at that point. We were like, see ya, bye. You know? So he got in his car and he went home. And, you know, we were all kind of just laughing about the night and talking about it. And, you know, eventually we get back to Santa Barbara and Kenny drops us off at Frank and Diane's. And, oh, that's another reason I think Ryan was like trying to, he was getting upset with Nick because it just kept getting later and later. And Frank kind of like gave a curfew. Good old Frank, man. Gave like a curfew. Well, he plans everything. Okay, so you're at dinner now. It should take you probably about an hour to eat dinner. And then, you know, you gotta drive back, and normally there's about this amount of traffic, so it should take you about an hour and 23 minutes. And then, so you should be here by like 7:43 with 20 seconds. I'm not kidding you. That's how he is. And at this point, it was like 10. And Ryan was just like, my dad's gonna skits. My dad's gonna skits. He's gonna skits. And he was just kind of freaking out. And honestly, I was like, call him and let him know. I really don't think he's gonna care. It's your first night back. I mean, whatever. So he did call Frank, and Frank actually did not care. He just said they'd leave the door unlocked, and that was that. So we made it there probably close to 11, and, you know, Kenny dropped us off, and at that point, Nico was asleep. And, you know, we brought our stuff in, and, you know, it was kind of our time to finally be alone. And I'm not going to kid you, man, it felt kind of awkward. I don't know. I think, you know, because, you know, when you're an alcoholic like I was, you know, you're pretty much drunk every time you had sex, or you'd be drinking. And, you know, it just felt weird. I don't know. I felt awkward. He felt awkward because we hadn't seen each other. It wasn't like we ran up to each other and like tore our clothes off. It was just kind of awkward at first. I mean, but kind of a good awkward too, because I had butterflies. I mean, because yeah, we wanted to do it. So, obviously we went to another room. Nico was asleep in our room, and we went to, you know, another room, and, you know, we had sex that night, and it felt amazing. And it was just very loving and passionate. I'm sure Ryan would describe this way grimier, but it was good. It was short, but I don't blame him. You know, we made up for it a lot afterwards, but I mean, it was just a beautiful night, and it was a nice reunion. And then, you know, we of course went to bed, and I'll never forget, you know, how good it felt waking up next to him and laying on his chest and just feeling his body and smelling him and holding him and him holding me. It just felt so good and so right. And every fear and doubt that I had before just melted away, and everything just felt so good, you know? And, you know, so pretty much we were living at Frank and Diane's house, and we had some loose ends to, you know, pretty much tie. Things on the list, you know, Ryan, you know, when he was incarcerated, had issues with some of his teeth. His wisdom teeth grew in or something, and it was just very painful for him. So he had to get his wisdom teeth removed. That was one thing. We had to go finalize his divorce with Kayla. So that was another thing on our list. And we had to apartment hunt. We had to find our own place because we were living at Frank and Diane's, and, you know, Frank and Ryan pretty much kind of had an agreement. Okay, Ryan pretty much said, I don't want to do anything for 30 days. I just want to be here with my family, get to know my son, be with my partner, and be with you guys, and not do anything. And, you know, Frank, you know, I honestly didn't think he was going to be cool with it, but he was. He was cool with it. He was like, okay. So, but we had shit to do. First thing on the list was definitely the teeth thing and getting him divorced. And that's what we did. You know, he went and got his wisdom teeth pulled, and you know, I was a little nervous about that. You know, because, oh, wait, let me back up. I just remembered. Let me back up. Sorry. See, things come to me. I don't rehearse these, and these come to me. So this was, let me back up a little bit. Let me start over here. So, you know, we're together. He's out of jail. And what happened, you know, he told me he's been sober this whole time. He's been sober, like, he wasn't doing anything but smoking weed. That's what he told me. And maybe doing some Suboxone here and there. But just weed in the end. That was it. And then, you know, he had this wisdom teeth appointment coming up. It was planned. And he was getting nervous because they wanted to prescribe him Vicodin and, you know, opiates. And he really didn't want to do that. So he pretty much told his dad he was nervous about that. And he thinks that he should get back on Suboxone. And, you know, I was like, why? You haven't been on it for like over a year now. Why do you need to get back on Suboxone? And Frank, you know, pretty much the same thing. And, you know, Ryan convinced us pretty much it's going to help him, you know, stay clean and sober. And again, I still didn't know the severity of his addiction, you know, but he just kept insisting to us that he needed to get back on Suboxone. But, you know, I believe, you know, we didn't know what to do. We shot it down. And, you know, when Ryan first got back, he was very calm, very gentle, would just go with the flow, wouldn't fight back. He pretty much was like, okay, if you guys don't want me to do that, then I won't. I'm just going to tough it out. I'm not going to get any Vicodin. I'm not going to do anything. And I'm just going to tough it out. And he did. I remember he did. He toughed it out, and he got through it. I mean, but man, did he act like a big baby. He just didn't get out of bed for like 4 or 5 days. He like did not get out of bed and was just whining and complaining. I'm starving. So, you know, had to get him like chicken broths and smoothies and things like that. And it's like, I was like, damn, really? Still? We're like day 4 and you don't want to get out of bed? I'm like, I remember when I got my wisdom teeth pulled, my senior year of high school, and I went out later that day. I went to my school prom like 3 days later. Like, what the fuck? You know, he was just acting like a big baby. And of course, I was just giving him shit. But he got through it. And, you know, he didn't get back on Suboxone. He would try again later. And we will get into that. But yes, during this time, I like to call this the honeymoon phase. Because Ryan was probably the sweetest he has ever been to me our entire relationship when he first got back from prison. He was so sweet and kind and thoughtful, and just, you know, whatever I wanted, he wouldn't resist. He wouldn't fight back. It's not like I was trying to control him or anything, but he was just very easygoing, you know, and it was just, that's why I like to call it the honeymoon phase, you know. It was just very nice and peaceful, you know, the first 30 days. And, you know, we basically, you know, our bond grew stronger and we fell in love even more. Then the next thing we had to go do was go and get him divorced, you know, and we went down to the Santa Barbara courthouse, and he literally just had to sign like a couple forms, and that was it. He was divorced. And I just remember we were both so happy, and, you know, we were like, well, now we can get married. He wanted to get married right away. I don't know. I did too. But, you know, Frank kind of put resistance on it. Like, maybe you guys should wait. And I don't know. I kind of started to feel the same way. Like, well, maybe he's right. Maybe we should wait a little bit. Let's not go run and get married tomorrow like Ryan wanted to. I just know that it felt really good for, you know, we both were, you know, just very happy that it was finally done. He was divorced from Caleb. That chapter was closed, and we can start our life together. And now, if, you know, when we wanted to, we could actually get married. So, you know, when Ryan first got out, we were both being just very productive and getting all his shit done. And that was pretty much it. Again, he didn't want to do anything for 30 days. So we really didn't do much but go like to the movies, go get ice cream, cook dinners together, go for walks as a family, watch movies together at night after Nico went to bed, you know. And it was just a very special time. And honestly, it's probably one of my most favorite times with Ryan. But it didn't last long. You know, he and I both stayed off social media for a while. And then eventually, he kind of, you know, we agreed to do that. Honestly, he kind of just force me to do that, but I agreed. Okay, fine. Yes, I want to focus on you. You've been gone, and if that's something you want, then okay. I'm okay with that then. But then, you know, eventually, I don't know why, but he just started to go back on social media. And he like discovered not discovered, but he looked at my page, and he just seriously went off on me and like ripped me a new asshole. And I'll never forget it. I remember like being in bed with Nico early in the morning, and Ryan comes in, and he literally just goes, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Like, what, you know, just made, like, what did I do now? Like, what the fuck? He's just like, what are these slutty ass pictures? So I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, where did this sweet, nice Ryan, who I thought wouldn't give a fuck or care that I took a couple selfies while he was in prison, was going off on me about it, calling me a slut and pretty much shaming me for it. And, you know, I couldn't believe it. And I was like, really? You care? Like, I mean, you have shirtless pictures on your Instagram. Like, I don't give a fuck. And, you know, it was just this big fight. And the honeymoon phase was over. The fight started again. And that was that, you know. And I don't have that Instagram page anymore. I wish I did. But in 2021, when we lived in Northridge, my Instagram page got hacked and completely got deleted. So I thought, you know, some weird hacker deleted my shit. But I later found out it was Ryan and Preston. Or mainly Ryan, I should say. But my Instagram account was completely deleted. And we will get into that obviously later on, the whole story behind it. But so I can't even show you guys the pictures. And, you know, again, I explained in a video before, it's not like I was trying to impress guys. Honestly, girls do that shit to really honestly compete with other girls. I'll just be real. I didn't want any other guy. I was not interested in any other guy. And also, like I explained before, I had this new confidence after giving birth to Nico. It's like I, you know, loved my body and I felt so beautiful. And I had this new self-love that I hadn't had in many, many years. You know, and he kind of just crushed that for me and made me feel really bad about it. I remember that. So, you know, in the future, that's why I always felt really weird when I posted a selfie, because I can guarantee you it was a fight afterwards. So anyway, but yes, the honeymoon phase was over. And that's when I started to see, like, you know, old Ryan kind of start to creep back, you know, like jealous, mean, verbally abusive. Ryan kind of come back, but he would try to control it too. It was like a balance, I guess you could say. But time went on, and, you know, we got along for the most part during that time. And then it got to the point where, like, Frank was like, okay, you guys gotta go find an apartment, you know. Frank and Diane would have these meetings. They always had them with Ryan. And I remember when I would sneak into their house, I would like wait or hide in the shower of Ryan's room, and I could like hear them. And they would have these weekly meetings, you know, of like this. Frank would literally have a typed out list of all these things and hand one out to Ryan, hand one out to Diane, whoever's there. And they would go down the list, and Ryan would have to answer all these things and give updates. So we started doing those with Frank and Diane, and we had our weekly meetings. And basically, okay, you got your teeth done, you are divorced, now it's time to go find an apartment. And that's what we started doing. And, you know, I wanted to get out of there too. Because, you know, I could tell, like, Frank was getting over it. And I remember, because, you know, if you know Ryan, he is just not the neatest person. He's very messy. And I mean, he's not neat. And I'm the one always cleaning up after everyone. And I consider myself a very neat person, and I like a clean environment. So I remember I overheard, I don't think Frank thought I was home. Like, I forget, Ryan was somewhere and I was there with Nico, but Frank came home and I think he thought we all weren't there. And I overheard him saying, "Oh my God, what is this? They are such fucking slobs." And I'm like, what? I seriously wanted to say something so bad. I remember saying it to myself. I'm like, we're slobs? I'm like, I'm not a fucking slob. Your son is. What the fuck? What is this we shit, you know? Like, what? And, you know, it just, I realized, okay, it's time to get out of there. I remember just being really offended because I am not like that. So anyway, it was our time to get the fuck out of there. So that's what we started doing, you know. Diane basically lent us or gave us the car. No, the car was ours. Diane's old X3 was my car, actually, but I didn't have a driver's license. See, when Ryan was incarcerated, Frank and Diane sold me the car for $100. And I put that car, the title, in my name, and I registered it, and I paid for everything, the insurance, everything. But I didn't have a driver's license because they pretty much told me, you need to take the car now or we're going to sell it to another friend of ours. So I'm like, no, give me it because we need to have a car, you know, once Ryan gets out. So at least we had the car. And that's what we started doing, you know. We started going down to the South Bay and we started looking at apartments. And we started in Redondo Beach, Torrance, and Hawthorne. And, you know, we had all these obstacles, though. We both had shitty credit. He had felonies. We didn't have income. So we were like, okay, we're going to need co-signers. Obviously, Frank and Diane are going to co-sign for us. You know, we started going to places. And, you know, we would dress really nice. And we looked like a nice family. But, you know, we went to go check out all these decent apartments and nice places and fill out applications, but it was rejection after rejection after rejection. We got rejected almost from every fucking place, and we couldn't even believe it. Some of these places were like the most ghetto, trashiest apartments, and we got rejected from that. And Ryan was like so offended, he couldn't believe it, you know. So we had the odds against us, and we didn't know what the fuck we were gonna do. And Frank and Diane were getting over it at this time, so time was ticking. And you know, when we would go down there on the weekends, and we would stay at motels in Hawthorne or Torrance, and then we'd go apartment hunting during the day. And this was probably our last time we went down to go apartment hunting, because we later found our West Covina place. On this trip down, we stayed at some sleazy motel in Hawthorne. I fucking wish I remember the name of it, but you know, we're getting rejected from everyone, and we were just getting so discouraged, like, what the fuck are we gonna do? And, you know, that's when Ryan's like, we gotta find a guest house. We gotta find a guest house or a private owner so I can, like, talk my way in there, because, you know, Ryan has the gift of gab. So we were on a mission to pretty much find something like that. You know, so we would be constantly on our phones looking at Craigslist or Zillow, and eventually, I don't know why, I was looking in the area, but it showed me like the front or the cover picture, thumbnail, whatever, looked cute. And I said, oh, look, guest house, West Covina. Where the fuck is West Covina? I didn't even know. I'm like, I've never heard of West Covina. And Ryan's like, that's far. That's like more inland. No, we don't want to go there. And I'm like, well, I'm going to call. And I mean, let's see, you know. So I call and I talk to a nice gentleman. And, you know, we have it on speaker, and we're both talking to him. And he's, you know, describing the place to us, and it sounds super fucking cool. And we look, and West Covina is like an hour and a half from where we are. And we're like, okay, well, can we come look at it? He's like, yeah, actually you can come look at it tomorrow. So we like set up the showing. We're like, okay, we didn't think anything of it. We thought, okay, we'll probably just get rejected again. But we had it set up, and that was that. So we literally would apartment hunt for hours at a time when we were actually doing it. And then we would go back to our, you know, motel room and just rest. And I remember one night, you know, Nico and Ryan are in bed. We're watching TV. We're about to go walk and get some food. We're gonna go get some burritos or something down the street, go for a family walk and get dinner. And, you know, I remember, like, I again, being the clean person, I'm picking up, like, Ryan's shoes, putting them in the corner, organizing Nico's things, organizing my clothes, folding up the towels, like, you know, straightening up the room, basically. And, you know, I'm straightening up Ryan's clothes, and I'm folding his shorts. And all of a sudden, something falls out. And I look down, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And Ryan, honestly, he didn't know what I had seen, but he turned white just by the tone of my voice. And we will leave it there for our next story. But yes, we're about to get into West Covina. The honeymoon series didn't last that long, guys. I mean, we were at Frank and Diane's for about 30 days, and honestly, we didn't do much. We had a lot of sex. We watched a lot of movies. Got him divorced. He got his wisdom teeth taken out. Trying to think of anything else. Started apartment hunting. Went for walks all the time. I mean, it was just a very innocent, sweet time. You know, we didn't do anything. And, you know, then it old Ryan started to come back, as you will hear in our next story. But I'm going to leave it here for now. It's about 100 degrees. I got to go get inside where the air conditioning is. But, yes, Anti-Heroes coming out soon. September 10th, I'm going to say. But I'll know more as time goes on. You know, I update you guys the moment I know, okay? And A Tortured Mind, the doc, that is coming out in October. Everything's still on track, so it's happening. And again, the more I know, you guys are going to know. I always update you, and I will continue to do so. But other than that, I believe that's it, guys. So, thank you. Love you. And as always, palabra.